Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I'm making little treat bags for my catalogue launch. And remember last time I made the little boxes with the candies in and I used the butterfly sweet. I'm still using that sweet, but I'm making these little gift bags. And they're so easy to make. You just need one piece of 12 by 12 paper, and I've just punched a little hole so that I can tie a ribbon round. Now, to start with, I'm going to use the free Sale-a-bration paper, the one with all the butterflies on. And I like this because it's double-sided. And when I make the bag, I like to have the inside of the bag sort of as a coordinating pattern on the outside. So I've started with a 12 by 12 piece of the paper, and for Sale-a-bration, if you spend $60, you can choose one item from Sale-a-bration catalogue, and 12 pieces of this beautiful paper happens to be one of them. So the paper hasn't cost me any extra because I claimed it as Sale-a-bration. So to make the bag, you need to look to see if your paper has a one-way pattern or design. And as you look at the pattern, it should be going the right way. If it's a pattern like this and it doesn't matter, then it really doesn't matter which way you turn your paper. But because the outside of my bag is going to have this pattern on it, I want to make sure it's facing the right way. And I'm going to do my scoring on my trimmer. I find it easier than getting the big board out, but if you like to use the board, then by all means do that. So I've got my paper ready and I'm going to score along this line at 2 inches. And then again at 5 3/4. Again at 7 3/4. And then at 11 1/2. And this 1/2 inch strip here that I've just made, that will be where we attach the tape to close the bag up. Okay, now this is going to be the top of my bag, so I'm turning it to make a 2 inch score down it. And the bottom of the bag, I'm going to do another 2 inch. So I'm just going to turn it round and do another 2 inch. And that's all the scoring we need. So let's pop that away. It's not terribly easy to see the score lines on this paper that I've chosen. But what we then need to do is to find that 1/2 inch strip which will be at your right hand side. And let's see if it's easier on the back. Oh no, it's no easier on there. Just find that 1/2 inch strip and slightly fold it, just so that you know where that strip is. And then I'm going to do exactly the same at the bottom so that I know where the base of my bag is. And I'm going to do the same at the top, so I know where the top of my bag is. And look how pretty that's going to look when it's folded over. And then I'm just turning this to a side, and I'm going to fold over all of my score lines. Because it's such a busy pattern, I'm having to feel it with my fingers to find out where the lines are. But that's just my fault because I chose this paper. Okay, now at this bottom right hand corner, it's got the 1/2 inch score, and I'm just going to cut this little piece off. So I'm going to cut from the bottom up to where the 2 inch score line is at the bottom, and then I'm just going to snip that off and leave a tiny little mitre. There we are. And then I'm going to fold over this piece and tape it down. Now, let me find where I just put my tear and tape. Not too sure, so I'm going to use my other tape, which is like tear and tape. It just isn't Stampin' Up's tear and tape. It's the Sukwang tape, and I have lots of this from when I used to craft before, but I actually prefer the Stampin' Up tape because it does tear, whereas this one I find I have to use scissors to cut it. So if you have the tear and tape from Stampin' Up, use that, it's so much better. So I put a piece all along, and I'm going to put another little piece down these sides and try and get it so that it's right on the edge, just to hold the fold in place when we start to make the bag. You will need your tape again later. And I find that tape holds this much better than the liquid glue even, because it's a little bit sturdier and it just thickens the paper up a tiny bit as well. Okay, so let's fold that over like that. And then I'm going to go back over those fold lines And really, this is the bag made. There's nothing complicated about making it at all. What I do like to do sometimes is just take a little piece off this corner, just to mitre it a tiny bit. Because you can't always get that lined up 100%. And rather than having a little piece stick out at the top, I just mitre it, makes it easier. Okay, then we're going to put tape down this little edge here. And again, I'm using the Sukwang, but if you have red line tape or if you have the Stampin' Up tape, use that because it's much easier to negotiate. Okay, let's take that tape off. And then to line this up, all we're going to do is to fold over one piece of the tape here, and then fold that piece, and this should line up exactly just by closing it up and folding it up on itself. And then I like to go round. If you need to use the bone folder, just go over your creases as well, but you shouldn't need to. It should stay, really easily. It should just fall into place. Now the next thing is I want the bag to have like a gusseted side. So all I'm doing is I'm going to take the smaller edges, and I'm just going to try and get the two edges to line up. Just manipulate it by hand. And I don't have somewhere that I got this bag from. I have watched lots of people make bags, and it's just one of those things that with a 12-inch piece of paper, these are the sizes that worked for me for today. If you wanted a wider bag, you just make this, instead of this being like a 2-inch strip, make it 1 inch or 1.5 inches. Or if you want a more square bag, make this side a little bit wider. So I don't have a template for all different sizes. It's just I make it to the size that I need it at the time. Okay, so they're those already put in. I wait till now to cut the bottom pieces. I know some people, when they make bags, they cut it all to start with, but I like to make sure that, if my bag hasn't closed quite right and I've moved it slightly or, refolded, I like to make sure that where the cuts are going to be just in the right place and not sort of a few millimeters down. And I've found that if I wait, the bags are always much better. Okay, and so then I just flatten it, and I'm going to cut from the bottom up to where the 2-inch score mark is. And I tend to use my bigger scissors for this, just so that I only have to do one even cut, rather than using my paper snips and having to open it again. Okay, so now we've got the 4 sides. And what I'm going to do is fold the 2 smaller sides in, like this. And then I'm going to put some of the tape on this piece and on this piece. And that way, oh, that is so tough to tear. It is much easier to cut. But that way, if I've got a piece of tape on here, it just holds these inside pieces still. And you can put your hand in if you need to. You just press that down. Like that. And then I'm going to do the same, but instead of just putting 1 piece on, I'm actually going to put 2 pieces on, just so that it's nice and sturdy. Oh. I'm going to cut this time. I always end up like pulling a piece of skin off or a piece of my nail. So. And if, like this, you've got any little pieces of the tape that overhang, just fold it back in. Okay, and then that should just nicely fit across the bottom. Right, so now we've got the basis of our box. Choose which side you want to be the front. And I always like where the edge is joined here, I like that to be at the back. So I'm going to choose this for the front, and I'm going to press the pieces together, and I'm just going to use my 1/2 inch punch and push that punch in the middle as far as it will go. Now it is going over 4 pieces of paper here, so if you just wanted to do it, let's take this off, if you just wanted to do half the bag, push it in and then line it up and do the other half, that would be fine. I'm gonna go for it, see if I can get all 4 pieces together. Woo! I don't know where that went. A bit like tiddlywinks. Okay, so now I've got my holes all punched, no rough edges anywhere, and all I've got to do is to choose a piece of ribbon to tie this with. And I've chosen a piece of the organdy ribbon from the Sale-a-bration box, where you spend $60 again and you get a free set of 5 ribbons. Okay, so up to now this is all a free bag because we've used free paper and free ribbon, but I would like to put on it a little picture on this one. Now, this one I haven't put a picture on yet, but I'm going to use the stamp set on this. And what I've used is this stamp set, and it comes as a joint set. Let me just take it out so you can see. And put a little piece of card behind it. So the 2 stamps are ready joined, and that makes it easy to put into the punch because that's how the punch is set out. So what I've done is I've used this and I've stamped with Memento Black. And see, I've stamped it twice. And if you didn't want to colour it in with the blends, you can use these stamps here and it will be all one colour when you stamp it. But I wanted a little bit of colour and variation on mine. This little piece stamps the tiny butterfly as well. And if you wanted, you know, you can put like the little feelers on and the body, but for this project, I didn't need that. So what I've done, I've coloured one in the Calypso Corals and I've coloured one in Highland Heather. And then with my punch, I'm just going to punch them out. You just need to line it up so that you've got the top and bottom butterfly just in the punch. And then there we are. Just move those down a little bit. And I'm also going to punch this one. I don't know yet which one I'm going to use. There we go. And then I've used the Hello Beautiful stamp, and I've just stamped on a small offcut of card. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fold this butterfly and just, with my fingers, just like manipulate it a bit. You could do that with your bone folder if you wanted. And then I'm just going to stick this on here, and I'm going to use my glue dots for this. I'm going to put 2 on the body of the butterfly, on the bigger piece. There's 1. There's 2. I'm just going to attach it here onto the card, and then the little one, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to put a little glue dot on the back of it. I'm going to roll the glue dot in half. I don't need it quite so big. And then just attach it to the back of the butterfly, and I'm going to put this in the middle. Now, if you wanted, you can see that they've got these little white pieces. When they're cut out, you could use a blender pen and colour them in with black. See, it would happen with all of them. You'll have the little tiny piece at the top and the bottom. But because I've put it on white card, I didn't think it mattered for this one. You could put a little, like a rhinestone or something on one of those as well if you wanted. And then all I'm going to do, I'm going to put adhesive on the back. I'm actually using my fast fuse on this piece. And then I'm going to attach it onto the bag. And I just want to see which of the butterflies I want to be able to view. So there, I want to see these 3 at the bottom. I'm just going to undo that ribbon and make sure it's all stuck down. And I think because I've got an orange butterfly, I'd like to use the orange ribbon. So let's pop the orange in instead, which is the Grapefruit Grove. Chop that. And there we go. We'll tie a ribbon in to a bow, and then that will be our little bag finished. And I think these are just cute little bags. I often use them for gifting jewellery or birthday presents, and sometimes I'll put the card and say a gift card inside, and then the whole thing is together. So let me just cut that ribbon down a little bit, just a little bit long there. There we go. So there we are. That's going to be my gift bags for the table for my catalogue launch, and I will be putting things inside for everybody. So thank you very much indeed for watching me again, and I hope to see everybody again soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.